If you have already watched this introductory information, you can skip ahead no more than 7 minutes. Hello, welcome. I am predicting that singer-songwriter Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025. This time-stamped email proves that this prediction that Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025 has been known since November 9th. We can see here the timestamp November 9th, 2024. On November 8th, 2024, we received the relevant prophetic signs related to Paul Simon. And as I wrote right here, God was pointing to November 8th ahead of time because Simon's death will point to Revelation chapter 8, verse 1. And this is the reason why Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025. In short, the date 8:1 and 11:8 hint at Revelation 8:1 in the Bible, which describes a period of silence that was observed in heaven. Paul Simon's first hit was Sound of Silence. As I wrote right here, it is exactly 38 weeks between November 8th and August 1st, 2025, and Paul Simon is predicted to die at the age of 83, for which 38 weeks hints at. A dirty bomb is a conventional explosive that uses radioactive material. I am predicting that 3 dirty bombs will explode in New York City, in Times Square, Penn Station, and Grand Central Station. There will then be a massive evacuation from Manhattan Island. I am predicting that these 3 dirty bombs will explode on either August 30th or September 4th. I am also predicting that a dirty bomb will explode in the port of Los Angeles on September 4th. I am predicting that Tehran, Iran, will be nuked by the US or possibly Israel on September 7th, 2025. This will obviously be in response to the dirty bombs that are predicted to explode in New York City. I am predicting that Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom will die in a plane crash in St. Louis as they are traveling from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles in Busch Stadium in St. Louis on August 2nd, 2028. This will be during the predicted presidential campaign of Gavin Newsom. As a result of Gavin Newsom's death, Michelle Obama will become the Democrat Party's presidential nomination. Michelle Obama will, quote unquote, win the election over J.D. Vance on November 7th, 2028, and will become the president on January 20th, 2029. Donald Trump is predicted to run as J.D. Vance's vice president. This scheme to overcome the 22nd Amendment will backfire and inspire Michelle Obama and Barack Obama to run on the ticket with Barack Obama as Michelle Obama's vice president. She will then step down and Barack Obama will become the president again. It is predicted that there will be a massive Mary apparition on the beach in Rio, Brazil on April 24th, 2029. It is now recognized that there will be 2 massive Mary apparitions on the beach in Rio. The first of the 2 is predicted to be on March 22nd, 2029. These predicted Mary apparitions will not be secretive. They will be mainstream, worldwide news. Like all Mary apparitions in history, including at Lourdes, Guadalupe, and Fatima, this Mary apparition will be a demon pretending to be Mary. It is predicted that on April 26th, 2029, the key will open the bottomless pit and fallen angels will cross over into the earthly realm. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to the fifth trumpet judgment that is described in Revelation chapter 9, when the demonic realm collides with the earthly realm. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to demons pretending to be aliens. The demons pretending to be aliens will claim to be here to help us with our nuclear weapons. It is predicted that Pope Francis will be resurrected from the grave on April 26th, 2029. And it is possible that on this day, Pope Francis will announce that aliens have arrived and have made him the ambassador for the world. This will immediately give Pope Francis, the Antichrist, supreme power over governments of the world. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to a zombie pandemic and the masses becoming demonically possessed that will be facilitated through the thing, which is the mark of the Antichrist and 5G frequencies. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to the coming genocide politicide in America. The resurrection rapture event will occur on Pentecost on May 27th, 2029. On September 11th, 2029, there will be a catastrophic asteroid hit of Earth in the Indian Ocean. The greatest seismic effect of this will be felt on the other side of the globe, which is North America, and this will trigger an eruption of Yellowstone volcano and will cause the volcano in the Canary Islands to collapse into the Atlantic Ocean and send a mega tsunami towards the East Coast. It will also trigger the collapse of the Hoover Dam, which will cause a water panic in California, and many other devastating earthquakes. The day of the Lord, the second coming of Lord Jesus Christ, Judgment Day, will be at the end of 2031. The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. Paul Simon is equal to bridge. Paul Simon is symbolism. In God's signs, Paul Simon is symbolism for the bridge over troubled water, his biggest hit, which gives us bridge symbolism, which is the metaphor implied in the fifth trumpet judgment in Revelation chapter 9. Again, this fifth trumpet judgment that follows the sound of silence in heaven in Revelation 8:1, which is why Paul Simon will die on the date 8:1. Okay, we have the seven trumpets that follow that, and the fifth of the seven trumpets is the bottomless pit being opened with a key, which implies a door, and a door in God's signs is the same symbolism as a bridge. The demons will cross over the bridge, go through the door from the demonic realm into the earthly realm. That's the fifth trumpet. So Paul Simon is also mansion symbolism. In fact, God has used the sale of Paul Simon's mansion in the fifth state as an important prophetic sign involving Paul Simon's signs. That's another story which I'll discuss in another video and have discussed already in other videos. So, but back to this paragraph, Paul Simon's daughter, well, actually this paragraph is about Paul Simon's mansion. Okay, so he has more than one mansion. I'm speaking of the one in Connecticut, in New Canaan, Connecticut, which is also prophetic. New Canaan is Israel. And Paul Simon is Jewish. Anyway, Paul Simon's daughter was in the news on July 8th, 2025. All right? And This was 4 days after the Kerr County flooding in Texas that pointed to Simon's mansion in nearby Wimberley, Texas, which I'll explain in another video. But the bottom line is that the that's a typo, the Kerr County flooding, in other words, the Texas flooding, if you don't know, it was the Kerr County flooding, also known as the Mystic Camp flooding. This tragedy is a Paul Simon sign. It's bridge over troubled water. Paul Simon is married to his wife, Edie Brickell, who is from Texas, which is why they now reside in Wimberley, Texas. And her one big hit was What I Am, which is clearly a hint at the Bible and God giving his name to Moses as I am, and Jesus using that and playing on that to reveal that he is God. Well, the song, the lyric is, part of the chorus of the song is, choke me in the shallow water before I go too deep or get too deep. Okay, choke me in the shallow water is this lyric that she repeats over and over in the song. Well, that's a river flood. That's a flash flood, river flood, right? That's amazing given what I'm saying, which is that their residence in Wimberley, Texas currently is the reason for this Kerr County flooding, where, of course, people, including children, were choked in the shallow water by the rushing water, okay? Now, all right. Now, so July 8th, Paul Simon's daughter was in the news, and that was 4 days after the flooding, which, by the way, was on the 4th day of the month, the 4th day of the 7th month, July 4th, and the number 7 is the 4th prime number. And again, 4 is symbolic of Paul Simon because of the 4th letter of the Hebrew alphabet being the symbol for a door. And Paul Simon is symbolic of a door because of the door being the same symbol as a bridge over troubled water, which is why 4 days after the troubled water, we have Paul Simon's daughter in the news. Okay, so what's going on here? So July 8th, 2025 was exactly 5 months. Okay, so it looks like I explain it in another video, the Paul Simon's daughter prophetic sign, but I'm using this where God is using this date of the Paul Simon's daughter sign, which was or is about the mansion in Connecticut. God is playing on that to point to another of Paul Simon's mansions, because the day of the Paul Simon's daughter, Paul Simon's mansion sign, and basically the daughter was in the news for posting on social media her distress over Richard Gere's sale of her father's mansion, her childhood home. But I'll explain more in another video, but that's the story. She's extremely upset that Richard Gere is selling the property to a company that plans to demolish the mansion. All right? And so anyway, exactly 5 months prior to this Paul Simon mansion, Paul Simon daughter news story, a YouTuber posted a video about Paul Simon's abandoned $5 million mansion. Okay, so exactly 5 months, $5 million. What are we talking about? The fifth trumpet involving the bridge. By the way, the name Paul Simon is equal to 500 in Hebrew gematria, and Paul Simon is Jewish. And his only number one hit as a solo artist was 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, which also hints at the number 5. Bridge Over Troubled Water was Simon and Garfunkel's 5th and last album. And again, it's because of this 5th trumpet and the bridge that the demons cross over. But we have, and also in that fifth trumpet, when or after the demons cross over, they demonically possess people who have taken the mark of the Antichrist, and these people will seek to die but will not find death, and this will last for a period of 5 months, as it is said in this fifth trumpet prophecy. So we have this 5 months here in this connection with Paul Simon, between two Paul Simon Mansion signs. All right, now, incidentally, another thing too is that Paul Simon sings of the Graceland Mansion in his song Graceland, and the Graceland Mansion sits on the fifth semi-prime number of acres. Semi-prime number is a number that is only divisible by two other prime numbers. It's 14 acres. That's 5, and that's relevant too because the White House Mansion sits on 5 acres, and the Graceland Mansion is used in God's signs to point to the White House Mansion. And that's why, incidentally, the Graceland Mansion is in the 4 times 4th state, and why the White House Mansion has 44 plus 44 plus 44 rooms, and God repeats the number 3 times for emphasis of its symbolic meaning, because the 44th president is the Antichrist who will reside in the White House Mansion. Okay, now, the title of the video of this YouTuber I'm talking about mentions a secret door inside the mansion, which is the highlight of the video tour of the abandoned mansion. So what this YouTube video is this guy and his friends who I guess have a channel in which they visit abandoned properties and mansions and go inside them and tour them. In this case, he took a tour of this abandoned Paul Simon Mansion in the 4 times 4th state. Incidentally, the same state as the Graceland Mansion. I don't know. I don't recall where the mansion is. It may even be in the Memphis area. I don't know though. But anyway, the title of the video, like I'm saying, which is how I found it, because I did a Google search for Paul Simon and door. So I found this video because the title includes the mention of a secret door inside Paul Simon's former mansion. Okay, and which again was $5 million, and the video even says that, and the video was posted exactly 5 months before the other Paul Simon daughter mansion sign. Now, and the secret door inside the tour is the highlight of the tour of the abandoned mansion. The abandoned mansion has a secret door to a gun vault. In God's signs, guns and mass shootings are symbolic of the thing, the mass taking of the thing. Things that come out of guns and go into people are symbolic of things that come out of things and go into people. So the secret door goes to a gun vault, and the demons come through the door in the 5th trumpet, demonically possess people who have taken the mark of the Antichrist. And this demonic possession process includes 5G frequencies, and music is frequencies, another reason why Paul Simon is a musician. But the secret door goes to a gun vault, which is symbolic of the mark of the Antichrist, which is the facilitator for the demonic possession. This is amazing. Now, the video was posted on the date 3/8, which is 8/3 outside of the US, and Paul Simon is predicted to die at the age of 83. Door equals 4 again. The video about Paul Simon's abandoned mansion with a secret door was posted on the date 3/8, exactly 40.00% of a year before it is predicted that Paul Simon will die at the age of 83. Amazing. And if you're interested, this is the URL to this YouTube video I'm talking about, this tour of Paul Simon's former $5 million mansion, 5 months, posted 5 months before Paul Simon's daughter mansion news story. This mansion tour will show you the secret door to the gun vault. I mean, it's up to you if you want to watch that. You get the idea, though. There's nothing in the video that you need to see, though. The sale of Simon and Brickell, Edie Brickell, the singer from the early 90s, Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians, okay? If you don't know, Paul Simon married her after he met her on the Saturday Night Live set. So the sale of Simon and Brickell's mansion in New Canaan, Connecticut was finalized on July 1st, 2022. The property has 8,811 square feet of living space, which hints at Revelation 8:1 and the date on which Simon is predicted to die on 8:1. The story of the sale of the mansion is how Simon and Brickell were forced to sell for significantly less than they bought the property for. Their mansion was sold to Richard Gere for $10.8 million. $10.8 million also hints at Revelation 8:1 and the date 8:1. So, I don't know why I added this paragraph into this email thread. It sounds like this should be added to the email thread involving the Paul Simon daughter news story related to the sale of the mansion. Regardless, though, I'll just include it here. But speaking of the fifth trumpet, this prophecy is symbolized in God's signs and in the passage by Revelation 9:11. Okay, God pointed to Revelation 9:11 through the events on 9/11 in 2001, for one thing. So Revelation 9:11 is symbolic of the fifth trumpet. And so is Simon because of the bridge symbolism. All right, and at one point, there was like one intermediate stage between the initial asking price, which was also prophetic, and then the final sale price. And that intermediate level was 11.9 million, which hints at Revelation 9:11. And again, the mansion was in the fifth state, which hints at the fifth trumpet. All right, see how it's all amazing. So, let's see. Yeah. And it was, by the way, sold to Richard Gere because he is symbolism for the movie Chicago, which God uses in his signs to point to the Antichrist, who is from Chicago. So anyway, I'll say more regarding this in other videos, though, this whole sign here. What I'm just saying right here is just pointing out the price and how it's relevant, which kind of is relevant to what I just explained about the other price of the other mansion, which was $5 million, all right? Believe me, I know far better than you how the prediction made in this video was derived. And more importantly, I know far better than you why the righteous Christian God of the Bible has given me a voice through this prediction. If you are a quote-unquote Christian or Muslim, this prediction was not learned through a demon. Be warned that blaspheming the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. If you are a New Ager or New Spirituality person, this prediction was not learned through somehow tapping into the supposed universal collective consciousness. If you are a conspiracy theorist, this prediction was not learned through figuring out a supposed code that the Illuminati and Satanists are using. This prediction was learned through the Bible and through watching carefully the Lord's prophetic signs, which Jesus commanded all Christians to do. Besides proving that Jesus Christ is the Lord, the reason why God has given me a voice through this prediction is to prove that the controversial things that I am saying in the videos on this channel are the truth. Therefore, a wise person will want to watch all of the videos on this channel. What I will also do is create a video or two that summarizes some of the controversial things that the Lord will prove to be true when the prediction being made in this video comes to pass. I will leave links to these must-watch videos in the description box below this video. Again, the purpose of this prediction, that is from God, is to prove these things that I will talk about. And therefore, it would be foolish to not watch the videos that I will leave links for in the description box below this video. Aliens and UFOs are demons masquerading as aliens and UFOs. Most people's spiritual experiences are demonic deception, especially if they are not a true follower of Christ. In the last days, many people who claim to be a follower of Christ will have spiritual experiences that are in reality demonic. God became a man and died a horrible death at the hand of the ruler of this world, Satan, and then defeated death for you, so that you too can overcome death, which is the price that must be paid for sin. It is time to repent, which means to change one's ways and turn to God and become a disciple of Jesus. Do not listen to or follow the example of most quote-unquote Christians. Instead, follow the teachings of Jesus, which most quote-unquote Christians ignore. Like Jesus, you must surrender your life. Put nothing ahead of Jesus, your Lord. Like Jesus, you must lay down your life so that you may live. As Jesus said, one must die first, like a kernel of wheat going into the ground, in order to then grow and produce fruit. And like Jesus said, one must produce fruit, or else like a branch or a tree not producing fruit, they will be thrown into the fire. Jesus was speaking to quote-unquote Christians when he said this. One must die the self in order to be born again. And like Jesus said, one must be born again to enter the kingdom. Like Jesus, you must sacrifice your life for the sake of the coming kingdom. It means to do work that involves some form of sacrifice and risk. To have faith does not mean to intellectually agree. You need to demonstrate your faith through taking action. To have faith means to trust in God's promises. Taking action demonstrates trust and fear of the Lord. The primary reason that the wrath of God is coming upon America is quote-unquote Christians that do not get what I have just explained. The only reason a Christian is alive is in order to help other people become Christians and make it to the kingdom. Do not be deceived by those on the political left claiming to be quote-unquote Christians. There is no such thing as a Christian on today's political progressive left. Jesus said, "Do not think I have come to abolish or change any bit of the law or the prophets of the Old Testament Bible." In other words, the God of the Old Testament Bible is the exact same God of the New Testament Bible. It is essential that you learn about the God of the Bible and his ways. The God of the Old Testament Bible is looking to see who will fear him, and to fear God is not the same thing as quote-unquote revering or honoring God. Through Christ's ransom payment, a Christian is someone who has been redeemed and freed from slavery to sin and Satan. In response, a true Christian recognizes that their life in this world does not belong to them, and they become a willing slave to Jesus for the sake of the kingdom. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. And don't only put the link to this video or another video on this channel in comments sections of places you typically visit, but importantly, put the link to the video in places you never visit, where people who don't think like you visit. If you are a quote-unquote Christian, nothing in terms of an evangelism tool compares to this video with its prediction. It is a massive bag of gold, Beware of Jesus' warning through the quote-unquote Christian that did nothing with his bag of gold and was banished to hell. Also, read Ezekiel chapter 3 and 33 for this same warning. If you think you might be spending too much time watching videos instead of working and sacrificing for the kingdom through handing out flyers and potentially helping hundreds of people in the same length of time as a video, my flyer is filled with amazing information that people need to know right now, and it points people to the video channel. Now is not the time to be handing out typical evangelical tracts that are largely based in error anyway, such as, quote, Jesus loves you, unquote, for example. You can hand out the flyer on busy street corners, put them on car windshields in busy parking lots, and put them in mailboxes. Just send the file to your local print shop. You can download the file from the website. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. It is essential that everyone immediately read the homepage of my website, asteroidprediction.com. If you are watching this on the YouTube platform, please note that not all of the videos are on YouTube. You need to switch to the Odyssey.com or Rumble.com channel, and do it now in case you aren't able to later.